Welcome to this short University of Aberdeen presentation on exploring probationer teachers' enactment of inclusive pedagogy in schools located in high poverty environments. The study reported here is part of a larger project supported by the Scottish Government and the Scottish Council of Deans of Education to research teacher education pedagogies and induction strategies to better prepare early career teachers to make a positive difference for SIMD 1 to 40 communities. Internationally, there is an important policy drive to promote inclusive and quality education for all learners. Inclusive education is viewed by governments as a way of contributing to the creation and maintenance of cohesive societies, and responding to broader global challenges associated with, for example, poverty. Schools located in high poverty environments present challenges for teachers, and by extension for teacher educators, that go beyond a focus on standard educational provision, with teachers taking on increasing responsibilities to help learners participate meaningfully in school. In Scotland, the National Framework for Inclusion and the Scottish Attainment Challenge are two examples of current policy initiatives that underpin the promotion of inclusive education. Within this policy landscape, like elsewhere, teachers and teacher educators are viewed as important contributors in responding to increasingly diverse learner groups. Yet it is well known that many teachers feel unprepared to work with such diverse learner groups. Preparing and supporting new teachers to work inclusively with increasingly diverse groups of learners, including those from low socio-economic backgrounds, is a dilemma facing teacher education in many countries worldwide. We designed this exploratory multiple case study to examine how probationer teachers in their induction year learn to enact inclusive pedagogy in schools located in high poverty environments. Each probationer teacher served as their own case in terms of data collection to elicit detailed descriptions of their lived experience. The purpose of examining multiple cases is to search for any replicating patterns with a view to strengthening the robustness of the findings. The first-person reports were collected via classroom observation, semi-structured conversational interviews, and reflective diaries to gather examples of the participants' lived experiences. All data were transcribed fully, and the British Educational Research Association 2018 guidelines for ethical practice were adhered to throughout. The criteria for locating and recruiting the 7 research participants were guided by 3 principles. 1. Their experiences of place. Here defined as schools located in areas of social and economic deprivation, or in schools with significant proportions of pupils living in poverty. 2. Their experiences of events in time. Here defined as graduates of the same initial teacher education programme and participating in their induction year. And 3. Ways of talking about their experiences. Here defined as familiar with inclusive pedagogy. 4 of the probationer teachers were placed in 2 primary schools and 3 were placed in the same secondary school. All names are pseudonyms. Inclusive pedagogy, as defined by Florian and Black-Hawkins 2011, takes a socio-cultural perspective in learning and is concerned with achieving positive educational outcomes for all learners. Underpinned by a commitment to address learner differences without marginalising or stigmatising learners, inclusive pedagogy involves teachers responding to individual differences by extending what is ordinarily available in the classroom to include all learners. Extending what is ordinarily available to everyone in the classroom builds on the work of Hart, Dixon, Drummond and McIntyre 2004, which describes a way of being a teacher that rejects teaching practices where planned learning is differentiated for some based on preconceived judgments about learners' abilities. Inclusive pedagogy also requires practitioners to adopt a relational approach, working with others to remove intersecting barriers to inclusion, as highlighted by Pantek and Florian 2015. Our data analysis was guided by a primary research question: what are the lived experiences of induction year teachers learning to enact inclusive pedagogy in schools located in high poverty environments? The analysis was divided into 3 phases.
First, we conducted within-case analysis of each participant's data to understand the individual context and the nature of their lived experiences. Next, we constructed mini-case write-up summaries for each participant, focused on identifying pertinent themes that emerged from the within-case coding and describing the enablers and barriers they encountered while teaching in schools located in high-poverty environments. Finally, we conducted a cross-case analysis to identify similarities and differences in terms of enablers and barriers experienced across the dataset for the probationer teachers. For the purposes of this presentation, we have selected 3 key themes elicited from the cross-case analysis of the lived experiences of probationer teachers' enactment of inclusive pedagogy in schools located in high-poverty environments to stimulate discussion during the planned online seminar. The key themes are interruptions experienced by probationer teachers throughout the course of their day, approaches to extending what is ordinarily available in the classroom for all learners, and approaches to grouping learners to promote inclusion. Each of these identified themes will be addressed more fully in the following slides.
We found that all the probationer teachers were experiencing mixed success in creating environments for everyone to participate in the life of the classroom. Of particular note was that all the probationer teachers experienced many interruptions in the course of each day. For example, Hilary highlighted, we do have a lot of absences or attendance issues, which means I could have a pupil that I have not seen for a week and I just have to embed them the best I can. The table presented here provides further illustrative examples of the types of interruptions experienced by the probationer teachers. There were many more examples that could have been included. Interruptions were categorised in the following way: distractions, technology not working or working very slowly, pupil relationships, overdependence on the teacher, absences, and more serious acts of disruption. I'll read some of these for illustrative purposes. Distractions. A lot of them, the learners, lack confidence in their academic abilities and have a tendency to try and avoid work where possible. Hilary, reflective diary. Pupil relationships. The groups just weren't getting along. Pupils were constantly getting moved about because it was so-and-so was doing this to me and so is. And it's not that they're a bad class, just when they're in tables, they just can't really seem to work together. Simon, interview 2. Overdependence on the teacher. Sometimes I get classes and some pupils will sit and wait for 20 minutes and I'm like, oh, I thought you would just have gone and tried to figure it out. And they're like, no, we were waiting for you. It was Eve, interview 2. And examples of more serious acts of disruption. The boy that walked out, he's got quite severe mental health issues. I have to phone the office to let them know he's walked out so that they can try and go and find him to see where he's gone. Yeah, it happens quite regularly with him. That was Colin, interview 2. We found that some probationer teachers provided examples of extending what is ordinarily available in the classroom for all learners. This enabled them to support learners in remembering key facts, with writing, and to offer choice. For example, in Simon's case, he sought to have resources available to support all of the learners. These resources were readily available in the classroom, but he used them in such a way that the learners could choose to use them if they wished. Simon also endeavoured to design the same learning opportunity for the class, with multiple entry and exit points. The table presented here provides further illustrative examples of how the probationer teachers extended what is ordinarily available for all learners in the classroom. So for example, to help key learners remember key facts, Amy in her interview 1 highlighted, I tried to find a little song to go along with the learning that we're doing. And again, that just really seems to help them remember what they're learning. Helping support learners with writing. Helen in interview 1. I wrote out what he wanted to say because he wouldn't be able to write it independently. So he's still involved in the lesson, but I'm giving him the extra support by writing for him. And he'll then rewrite it because he struggles with words by himself. And to support choice. Simon, interview 1. The ones who weren't as sure, they could still use the physical counters. Even the ones who were sure, they just wanted that safety net. They could use the counters if they needed it, but it was just to have that there just in case they needed it. Simon, interview 1. We found that while some probationers highlighted having little control over approaches to groupings in literacy and numeracy, they also highlighted efforts they made to seek out opportunities for the learners to work in mixed ability groups whenever possible. For example, while Amy had little control over approaches to groupings in literacy and numeracy, she rejected notions of fixed ability and saw opportunities for the children to work as a whole class in curricular areas such as science and religions and moral education. Similarly, Helen tried wherever possible to promote mixed ability groupings in her classroom. While ability grouping was normalised in school for numeracy and literacy, Helen made efforts to reject notions of fixed ability and work within the school structure to find opportunities to challenge the children further. So, for example, Amy's quote states in relation to having little control over approaches to grouping in literacy and numeracy. With things like the literacy and numeracy, that is based in their ability groupings as to how we're dealing with that input. So over the first couple of weeks, it was literacy, as it was school policy to organise groups in these curricular areas by ability, doing things such as reading assessments and spelling assessments and phonic assessments to see what stage they were at. With their maths, it was looking at their ability, numbers up to 10, numbers past 10, and just doing assessments to gauge where they're at. And that's ongoing throughout the year. In Helen's example, in relation to an attempt at using mixed ability grouping in classes where ability groupings were normalised. If we're doing problem solving, I put them in mixed ability groups so that they can support and challenge each other, which some of the children are amazing at supporting each other. They know how to teach someone else, which is such a good skill. It shows they're applying their knowledge. Helen, interview 2. We've identified some reflective questions to help explore in greater depth the lived experiences of the probationer teachers in this study. Question 1. Do you recognise the probationer teachers' experiences of multiple interruptions throughout the course of the day as characteristic of working in schools located in high poverty environments? If so, what might be done to mitigate such interruptions? If not, what else do you think the data might be telling us? Question 3. Can you think of any examples where it has been possible to extend what is ordinarily available in the classroom for all learners to avoid marginalising or excluding some learners? Question 4. How might probationer teachers find more opportunities to develop mixed ability group work? Thank you for listening.